Section 24 of the Letters of Jane Austen. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Letter 54. Henrietta Street, Wednesday, March 9th. Well, we went to the play again last night, and as we were out a great part of the morning too, shopping and seeing the Indian jugglers, I am very glad to be quiet now till dressing time. We are to dine at the Tilsons, and to-morrow at Mr. Spencer's. We had not done breakfast yesterday when Mr. J. Plumptre appeared to say that he had secured a box. Henry asked him to dine here, which I fancy he was very happy to do, and so at 5 o'clock we four sat down to table together, while the master of the house was preparing for going out himself. The farmer's wife is a musical thing in 3 acts, and as Edward was steady in not staying for anything more, we were home before 10. Fanny and Mr. J. P. are delighted with Miss S., and her merit in singing is, I dare say, very great. That she gave me no pleasure is no reflection upon her, nor, I hope, upon myself, being what nature made me on that article. All that I am sensible of in Miss S. is a pleasing person and no skill in acting. We had Matthews, Liston, and Emery. Of course, some amusement. Our friends were off before 8:30 this morning, and had the prospect of a heavy cold journey before them. I think they both liked their visit very much. I am sure Fanny did. Henry sees decided attachment between her and his new acquaintance. I have a cold too, as well as my mother and Martha. Let it be a generous emulation between us which can get rid of it first. I wear my gauze gown to-day, long sleeves and all. I shall see how they succeed, but as yet I have no reason to suppose long sleeves are allowable. I have lowered the bosom, especially at the corners, and plaited black satin ribbon round the top. Such will be my costume of vine leaves and paste. Prepare for a play the very first evening. I rather think Covent Garden, to see Young and Richard. I have answered for your little companions being conveyed to Keppel Street immediately. I have never yet been able to get there myself, but I hope I shall soon. What cruel weather this is! And here is Lord Portsmouth married too, to Miss Hanson. Henry has finished Mansfield Park, and his approbation has not lessened. He found the last half of the last volume extremely interesting. I suppose my mother recollects that she gave me no money for paying Brecknell and Twining, and my funds will not supply enough. We are home in such good time that I can finish my letter to-night, which will be better than getting up to do it to-morrow, especially as, on account of my cold, which has been very heavy in my head this evening, I rather think of lying in bed later than usual. I would not but be well enough to go to Hertford Street on any account. We met only General Chowne to-day, who has not much to say for himself. I was ready to laugh at the remembrance of Frederick, and such a different Frederick as we chose to fancy him, to the real Christopher. Mrs. Tilson had long sleeves too, and she assured me that they are worn in the evening by many. I was glad to hear this. She dines here, I believe, next Tuesday. On Friday we are to be snug with only Mr. Barlow and an evening of business. I am so pleased that the mead is brewed. Love to all. I have written to Mrs. Hill, and care for nobody. Yours affectionately, J. Austen. Letter 55. Chawton, Tuesday, June 13th. My dearest Cassandra, Fanny takes my mother to Alton this morning, which gives me an opportunity of sending you a few lines without any other trouble than that of writing them. This is a delightful day in the country, and I hope not much too hot for town. Well, you had a good journey, I trust, and all that, and not rain enough to spoil your bonnet. It appeared so likely to be a wet evening that I went up to the great house between 3 and 4, and dawdled away an hour very comfortably, though Edward was not very brisk. The air was clearer in the evening, and he was better. We all 5 walked together into the kitchen garden and along the Gosport Road, and they drank tea with us. You will be glad to hear that G. Turner has another situation, something in the Cow line, near Rumsey, and he wishes to move immediately, which is not likely to be inconvenient to anybody. The new nurseryman at Alton comes this morning to value the crops in the garden. The only letter to-day is from Mrs. Cooke to me. They do not leave home till July, and want me to come to them, according to my promise. And, after considering everything, I have resolved on going. My companions promote it. I will not go, however, till after Edward is gone, that he may feel he has a somebody to give memorandums to at the last. I must give up all help from his carriage, of course. And at any rate, it must be such an excessive expense that I have quite made up my mind to it, and do not mean to care. I have been thinking of Triggs and the chair, you may be sure, but I know it will end in posting. They will meet me at Guildford. In addition to their standing claims on me, they admire Mansfield Park exceedingly. Mr. Cooke says it is the most sensible novel he ever read, and the manner in which I treat the clergy delights them very much. Altogether I must go, and I want you to join me there when your visit in Henrietta Street is over. Put this into your capacious head. Take care of yourself, and do not be trampled to death in running after the Emperor. The report in Alton yesterday was that they would certainly travel this road either to or from Portsmouth. I long to know what this bow of the Prince's will produce. I saw Mrs. Andrews yesterday. Mrs. Browning had seen her before. She is very glad to send an Elizabeth. Miss Benn continues the same. Mr. Curtis, however, saw her yesterday, and said her hand was going on as well as possible. Accept our best love. Yours very affectionately, J. Austen. Letter 56. Thursday, June 23. Dear Cassandra, I received your pretty letter while the children were drinking tea with us, as Mr. Louch was so obliging as to walk over with it. Your good account of everybody made us very happy. I heard yesterday from Frank. When he began his letter he hoped to be here on Monday, but before it was ended he had been told that the Naval Review would not take place till Friday, which would probably occasion him some delay, as he cannot get some necessary business of his own attended to while Portsmouth is in such a bustle. I hope Fanny has seen the Emperor, and then I may fairly wish them all away. I go to-morrow, and hope for some delays and adventures. My mother's wood is brought in, but by some mistake no bavins. She must therefore buy some. Henry at White's! Oh, what a Henry! I do not know what to wish as to Miss B., so I will hold my tongue and my wishes. Sackree and the children set off yesterday, and have not been returned back upon us. They were all very well the evening before. We had handsome presents from the great house yesterday, a ham and the 4 leeches. Sackree has left some shirts of her master's at the school, which, finished or unfinished, she begs to have sent by Henry and William. Mr. Hinton is expected home soon, which is a good thing for the shirts. We have called upon Miss Dunsetoy and Miss Papillon, and been very pretty. Miss D. has a great idea of being Fanny Price, she and her youngest sister together, who is named Fanny. Miss Benn has drank tea with the Proutings, and, I believe, comes to us this evening. She has still a swelling about the forefinger and a little discharge, and does not seem to be on the point of a perfect cure, but her spirits are good, and she will be most happy, I believe, to accept any invitation. The Clements are gone to Petersfield to look. Only think of the Marquis of Granby being dead! I hope, if it please Heaven there should be another son, they will have better sponsors and less parade. I certainly do not wish that Henry should think again of getting me to town. I would rather return straight from Bookham. But if he really does propose it, I cannot say no to what will be so kindly intended. It could be but for a few days, however, as my mother would be quite disappointed by my exceeding the fortnight, which I now talk of as the outside. At least we could not both remain longer away comfortably. The middle of July is Martha's time, as far as she has any time. She has left it to Mrs. Craven to fix the day. I wish she could get her money paid, for I fear her going at all depends upon that. Instead of Bath, the Deans Dundases have taken a house at Clifton, Richmond Terrace, and she is as glad of the change as even you and I should be, or almost. She will now be able to go on from Berkshire and visit them without any fears from heat. This post has brought me a letter from Miss Sharpe. Poor thing! She has been suffering indeed, but is now in a comparative state of comfort. She is at Sir W. P.'s in Yorkshire with the children, and there is no appearance of her quitting them. Of course we lose the pleasure of seeing her here. She writes highly of Sir William. I do so want him to marry her. There is a dowager Lady P. presiding there to make it all right. The man is the same, but she does not mention what he is by profession or trade. She does not think Lady P. was privy to his scheme on her, but on being in his power, yielded. Oh, Sir William, Sir William, how I will love you if you will love Miss Sharp. Mrs. Driver, etc., are off by Collier, but so near being too late that she had not time to call and leave the keys herself. I have them, however. I suppose one is the key of the linen press, but I do not know what to guess the other. The coach was stopped at the blacksmith's, and they came running down with Triggs and Browning and trunks and bird cages. Quite amusing. My mother desires her love, and hopes to hear from you. Yours very affectionately, J. Austen. Frank and Mary are to have Mary Goodchild to help as under till they can get a cook. She is delighted to go. Best love at Streatham. End of Section 24.